We're going to go ahead and get started. I just started the recording here of the new recording. So thank you guys all for joining us today here for this exciting webinar with Peter Mahmood from Cox Enterprises. My name is Jay Giles. I work on the employee relations team here in career services at American Public University System. So our team is excited to have Peter here to talk a little bit about uh, Cox Enterprises, what his role is, and how they work with military students, and how they get them connected to employment opportunities. So before I turn it over to Peter, just want to couple quick housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded. As I mentioned, we will upload it into our YouTube channel, which I'll put in the chat, and it will also be uploaded to CareerLink, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end of the recording or at the end of the webinar Peter session. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Peter, and thank you very much for joining us, Peter. We're happy to have you.
Hey, thank you, Jay. Much appreciated. And for those that are taking the time to join today and learn about our careers at Cox and our different brands, I appreciate that. Of course, thank you to American Military University and the APUS system for having me on. We've got a great partnership, and I'll also talk to you about our different partners. I'm going to share a couple of slides with you today, really talk about the different Cox brands, our different careers, our projects and programs, and hopefully get a better understanding. There'll be plenty of time to answer and definitely field your questions towards the end of the slideshow. And then I'm happy to stay on and connect with you. So I will go ahead and share now. Okay. Jay, just let me know if we can see that first slide there, the project serves.
Yes, sir. We're great. We're good to go.
All right, thank you. So again, Peter Mahmood, Military Relations for Cox Enterprises. Just to bring your attention to our naming convention and project serves. Serves really focuses on service members, veterans, and spouses. And by that, we're talking veteran and military spouses. The website that is on the bottom there, jobs.coxenterprises.com. That is your go-to career page for Cox, where you can basically get to all of our careers. It's very interactive site. It's a brand new site, as is a lot of our websites. Got a relook and refurbished look over the last 2 months. And you can, in that site, look at jobs by interest, by zip code, by career field. You can also plug in MOSs, whether it be Army, AFSCs with the Air Force, Navy rates, and so on. So we'll go into those and our different careers at Cox. Just a little bit about myself and my role. I basically was brought into Cox going on 4 years now to partner with our military bases and our veteran organizations to source and recruit out of 3 main channels: transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses. All right. Um, of course, I have been through the transition myself. I am a retired Army officer, 24 years active duty. I retired from the military as an officer, as a major. I was an Army recruiting commander, so I spent a lot of time putting folks into the military. And now, as military relations, I work to transition folks out of the military and into our corporate roles at Cox. And I also lead our military spouse recruiting programs. which includes fellowships, internships, and partnerships with military spouse organizations as well. So we'll talk a little bit about Cox Enterprises. $23 billion company, 50,000 employees strong, nationwide and international footprint that Cox has. But Cox is really a dedicated group of people, definitely focused on building a better future for the next generation. You know, and of course, we treat our employees as our most important resource. And I'll tell you now, when you are looking at companies, culture is important, looking at the values and culture of a company. Of course, you're going to look at things like salary and positions, but um, I definitely encourage you to look at companies that you're applying to, whether it be Cox and others, and see what type of work culture they have, because those are important for your success outside of the military as well. Cox is a privately held organization, and I'll talk a little bit about our brands because we're going to go into the different brands of Cox today. So Cox Communications, the largest private telecom in the United States. Cox Cable and Internet is in 30 states, 7 million homes and businesses, right? Big in areas like Phoenix, San Diego, out in Virginia Beach area, North Florida, the Midwest. You're going to find a lot of Cox business out there. Cox Automotive, one of the largest automotive groups. A lot of folks don't know how big Cox Automotive is in terms of automotive jobs and programs. Cox Auto touches 3 out of every 4 cars sold in the United States. We have brands such as Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader, Dealer.com, DealerTrack, Bin Solutions, and one of our largest companies that I'll talk about later called Mannheim Auto Auctions. Now, more recently, acquisition is Cox Farms. Cox Farms is the largest greenhouse operator in North America. So if you go into the store and you see brands like Bright Farms, Mucci Farms, that is now Cox Farms. And that's basically renewable farming. Those are large greenhouses and arid, dry areas where you would never think to grow crops. Cox is into that. So again, improving the quality of life and resources for all individuals. We'll talk about Cox's exceptional benefits, working alongside great people um, through different career growth models. And of course, Cox has been around since 1898, started by Governor Cox, who actually ran for president in 1920. So you can look up a little bit of the history of Governor Cox, our founder. So a little bit about our partnerships. And this is really how we expand and advertise and recruit for military veterans and military spouses. Cox has partnered with 25 plus military bases, veteran organizations, and military spouse organizations, where we basically find talent. On the East Coast, up in the East region that you see on the map, we're partnered from Fort Drum in the north all the way down to our Navy bases in the Jacksonville area and even southern more into South Florida as well. In the Central region, we've got many military-based partners, places like Fort Campbell, Fort Riley, Fort Cavazos in Texas, all the way down to Joint Base San Antonio, including Air Force and Army bases in the central part of the country. Out in the West, all the way up from the Seattle area and Joint Base Lewis McChord out to Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, and really partnered on the West Coast with the Navy and the Marines in the San Diego area. As well as our veteran and military spouse partners that I mentioned, great organizations that service military dependents and military families, Army Community Service, Navy Fleet and Family, the USO, Recruit Military, Hiring Our Heroes, companies you've heard of, as well as our partnership with Military Spouse Employment Partnership, or MSEP. Cox has been an MSEP partner with the Department of Defense since 2023. So we'll get into now some of the careers. We talked about the different Cox brands. What that allows us to do is offer careers nationwide in many different fields: technology, cybersecurity, automotive, sales, engineering, and a lot more. Um, this is an example here. This is a copy of our Hot Jobs flyer. This is a monthly job flyer that we share with our 25 plus base partners, our veteran partners. We share it with APUS as well. Um, and you can see some of the roles up there: software engineer, cybersecurity, automotive technicians, hospitality management, territory sales. Uh, these flyers, if you see them in your organization, they are posted in the base transition offices on many military installations as well. Um, we we also list remote opportunities. Cox has a great amount of remote jobs as well. Um, and again, highlighting back to our career page, the jobs.coxenterprises.com. When you see this flyer, it will include a QR code uh, as well as the website link to get to all of our Cox careers. Um, so the this is the current jobs flyer. Uh, they're all released around the first week of the month. So around about July 1st, prior to the 4th of July holiday, we will be releasing our July jobs flyer to our partners. So a little bit about the logos and the companies. Cox Communications. Although we have many jobs and roles within Cox Communications, I definitely highlight our IT and our network careers at Cox. Um, as you can see, some examples: software engineers, network engineers, field engineering technicians. But of course, any large company is going to have client relationships, data analysts, and of course, our cybersecurity roles. Um, for additional programs, especially related to service members, veterans, and spouses, we do have internship programs, and we are a DoD skill bridge provider at Cox. We are partnered with Hiring Our Heroes with the Corporate Fellowship Program. So we bring in active duty fellows for the 12-week cohorts. We've done that very successfully over the past couple of years, both remote and in person. We bring in very quality numbers, probably in the single digits, between 4 to 10, uh, fellows, and we have a great track record of hiring a lot of our interns. We are also partnered with the Military Spouse Fellowship Program, so we offer military spouses to come in and intern and fellowship at Cox as well. And that's a great hiring pool for us with talented military spouses. And as I mentioned, we do some individual skill bridge. We try to lean more on the Hiring Our Heroes model and bring in folks through the cohorts, but I have done some individual skill bridge interns that have worked in Cox in a in different fields. I recently had an Air Force sergeant in a residential broadband technician skill bridge out in the Phoenix area. And he was offered a great career out there after his separation from service. So that's our Cox Communications. You see the logo with the Cox truck. If you're familiar, have had Cox cable or Cox internet in any of the markets that you've lived in, you would recognize that Cox logo. Now for Cox Automotive career opportunities. Again, we talked about some of our go-to-market Cox Automotive brands: Kelly Blue Book, Auto Trader, and our largest brick and mortar facilities in operation called Mannheim Auctions. There are about 100 Mannheim locations across the US, and they all reflect city names. So there's Mannheim, Orlando, Mannheim, Nashville, Mannheim, Tampa, Mannheim, San Diego, Mannheim, San Antonio. Basically, you take a large city and put the word Mannheim in front of it, there's probably an auto auction. These are facilities where car dealers buy and sell their vehicles. Um, so in the back of the auction, you're going to see the majority of our technician roles: auto technicians, body technicians, diesel technicians, painters. You're also going to see our logistics, supply chain jobs, technician, production supervisors. Um, in the front of the auction, you're going to have your customer facing roles, human resources, client relationships. And you're also, again, this is also built on a network. So you're going to have some IT roles as well in the automotive footprint and field as well. This is really where we have our well known, very recognized auto training programs. We've got three that I'd like to highlight. One is called Fleet Tech. So we have a fleet technician program. Think about folks that work on 18 wheelers. Um, these fleet technicians, they have mobile vehicles. They're basically diesel technicians. We have a fleet tech training program at Cox in Phoenix and in Indianapolis. We are training right now. We have service members coming out of the military training in our fleet tech program. We've got also for gas auto technicians, we've got program ATTC, our auto technician training program. Basically training in 4 locations right now: in Riverside, California, in Dallas, Texas, out there in New Jersey near the Joint Base McGuire, and in Orlando. We've got auto technician training program. We use these to upskill our current employees and also to train veterans. Um, these are apprenticeship programs, which means that you're hired by Cox into these technician programs. Um, we also have some skills-based fellows. Hiring Our Heroes recently has gone to this skills-based model where we're offering not just internships for um, you know, office and admin type roles, but also skills types roles. And we do a lot and work with a lot of that. So basically, between Cox Automotive and Cox Communications, you've got a lot of variety of Cox. If you're into the hands-on skills, we have those for you. If you're into the office and senior project manager roles, we are into those type of roles as well. Jay, let me stop there. Any burning questions that need me to answer?
I don't see any questions yet in the chat.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
Hudson
we'll.
um, are in here, so
Okay.
but we can go keep going on. We can go over some questions at the end if anybody has any questions and get them answered for
Great.
once you
All
finish.
right. Great. Thanks, Jay. Yeah. So, I get asked a lot, why Cox Enterprises? What is it that makes your company, an employer? So I've just made a couple notes on here, as you can see. We're a leading employer in cybersecurity, technology, engineering, automotive, sales, and these are nationwide opportunities, as you can see from our partner map, that we are basically covering the majority of the US with our Cox Automotive and Cox Communications opportunities. Um, also we have full-time, part-time, hybrid, and remote roles. Just to break those down a little bit, hybrid, you're in the office a couple days, you may work remote. We have fully remote roles. For example, my role and a lot of our recruiters are fully remote. We are working supporting the Cox markets that we support. Um, some additional opportunities, we talked about hiring our heroes fellowships, apprenticeships, um, and really one of the ones I want to highlight is our veterans resource group that we call it Cox Salute. Um, That is a strong, right now, 3,000 veterans and military affiliated strong across our different regions at Cox. We've got regional chapters of our salute team. So we have an East Coast chapter, a Northwest chapter, a Southwest chapter, a Midwest chapter. Um, and these folks give you volunteer opportunities, additional networking opportunities. Your networking doesn't stop when you're looking to join a company. You do a lot of networking when you're within your company as well. Our Salute Veterans Resource Group was awarded in 2024 the Veteran Impact Award as the top employee resource group. So we really highlight that, and they're very active in their different markets. And of course, any great company is going to talk about benefits, healthcare from day one, 401k retirement with company match, paid vacations, and paid parental leaves. This is just a snapshot. We have many more benefits listed, and you can read those on the Cox website as well. Um, Highlight a couple awards that we've received definitely in 2025. Cox was a Vets Index's 5-star top veteran employer for 2025. And for the second consecutive year, top military spouse employer in 2024 and in 2025 with military.com. This is my last slide here. I'll stay on this and probably take some questions after this. How can you connect with Peter and the Cox talent team? Well, there's a couple different ways. I'm going to highlight three. One is to visit our veterans page. You can see that one in the chat. You can also get there from the jobs career site as well, and from any of the Cox main pages. It's the jobs.coxenterprises.com. You see the / with Life at Cox and Veterans. I encourage you to go on there and read about our veteran and spouse programs. You can scroll down, and there is a link to join the talent community. When you join the talent community, you are searchable now by our recruiters and our sourcing team when they're out looking for folks in cybersecurity or in management or in whatever career field that you're interested in. You can also send me an introduction email with your resume. I'm happy to review and make contact with you via email. And probably the last and a great way also is to network on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I do LinkedIn live seminars where I invite Cox recruiters, and I always encourage candidates to come on there. So you can scan that QR code there and connect with me on social media, which is great there as well. So Jay, I'm going to stop there for a second. I'm going to stop sharing, and anybody can come into the chat or feel free to come off mute and ask any questions you might have.
Yep, I think there's a couple questions.
Okay. I can stay on the slide or I can go to another slide or we can, and I'll stop
Um,
sharing.
I think there's it's Gilsland asked, what qualities or skills do you see most see in the most successful service members employed at Cox? Sorry, what qualities or skills do you see in the most successful service members employed at Cox?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. I talk to many service members of different ranks every day, and the question's always like, how do I, apply to Cox? What do I need to do to get in there? To answer that question, uh, the most successful folks I think are probably flexible. Is one word I would use. Those that bring in those transferable skills. There's a reason that companies like Cox recruit and hire veterans. One of them is the transferable skills. And what that is bringing in things like leadership, communication skills, time management, folks that are able to come in and impact the organization right away. And those are our veterans and spouses. You know, um, When we say Cox is a veteran-friendly employer, or I would like to describe us as a veteran-ready employer, we don't hire veterans and military spouses for charity. We hire them oftentimes because they're the most qualified candidates for the roles that we have. And those are because of those transferable skills, leadership, communications, and time management. So that's how I'd answer that one, Jay.
Perfect. Peter, there's also a question from Meredith. She asked, do most of your positions require a completed degree? Which is a good question because I don't know if that was talked about in your presentation. I
Yeah.
know. Um,
So uh, there are degree requirements in certain positions. I would not say every position. Of course, it depends. We hire from entry level all the way through to director level positions. Um, many of our senior positions will list degrees. Some of our cybersecurity and IT positions will require a degree in that position. Um, Again, that's some, but not all. So what I would encourage the job seeker to do is to, if you see a job through the jobs.cox enterprises page, read through the job description. Definitely go down to the minimum qualifications. If the minimum qualification says bachelor's degree required, then yes, it is a bachelor's degree required. If it says some university experience, some secondary level experience, college education, then that's what it means. I always encourage job seekers, being realistic, you're looking for like that 80% or better match to that career, you know, but that's where I encourage them to come in and talk to me as well about, hey, Peter, I'm a veteran, I'm a military spouse. I bring something else to the table. And if we can talk about that 80% match in the job skills, then maybe we can look through some of the veterans' transferable skills that we can use to get over that threshold to get you really qualified for the position. But for the earlier question, yes, we do have degree requirements in some of our positions for sure.
that was a great question for sure. Well, do we have any other questions for Peter? He's covered a lot of awesome information about Cox and Enterprises and all of the companies and that they have available throughout the country, available to our uh, military community, and then also our AMU students who have the educational background as well as the service background. So um, there's a lot
Yeah.
of information. So is there any other questions or comments from anybody?
Jay, I'll just say that I don't know if we had shared it earlier, but I listed our veterans page in the chat. Um, and I wanted to share real quick. I think I have it up on the screen as well. I'm going to share it. Can you see the veterans page there?
Yep, we definitely can.
All right. So this is the veteran careers page. This is a brand new page that Cox has. Um, what I would encourage you to do, you can read down through this page. Of course, we list awards. We list our technician roles. There's blogs in there that you can read about, our pledge to hire veterans. And as we come down to the bottom, this is a great link connection right here. You can sign up for job alerts. You can join our talent community, and you can search open roles, all with the click of a button from the veteran careers page. And that's one of the ones I put into the chat. So it's a very user-friendly page.
Hudson did not have any questions, but he did make a comment that you had a great presentation. It was very informative as well. So thank you for your time today. That was
Yeah, that's great, Jay. I would say, thanks to those that joined, and thanks for having me. Um, Continue to network, and great services that you are providing here. And I appreciate you having me on. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you, Jay.
yeah, absolutely, Peter. Well, thank you very much. I just shared a slide here. If you're not sure necessarily where to go, I mentioned the Career Link, which is our university community board where you can connect with your fellow students and alumni and also our employers in there posting jobs. Peter is a community member, shares jobs and events that they have throughout the year. You can connect there. We share career resources. It's a great place to connect and make connections for your career. Has all of our events as well. And then there's the QR code there, but you can also access it in your eCampus when you're logged in under the directory button at the top. And then if you want to get in touch with our career services department to speak with a career coach, if you're not sure where to go next, our email address is careerservices@apus.edu, or the telephone number there is 877 755 2787.